When Brian Fenimore was here one time, he prophesied that our church was going to become a place of healing for people. And since then, I've been looking for people to be healed, but I don't see it happening. But what I do see happening is that God is working to heal people from emotional damage and trauma and bring them emotional healing. We did, some of us did a Sozo training, and some of us went through a book called Emotional Healing Made Simple. And out of that, we've been experiencing times where God is emotionally healing us of things. There's many verses pointing to God healing us emotionally. Psalm 147:3 says, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. This one I don't have up, but it's Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to all whose hearts are crushed by pain, and He is always ready to restore the repentant one. And Isaiah 61:1, we're all familiar with. The Spirit of the Lord God has anointed me to bind up and heal the brokenhearted. So it's God's intention that we don't just be physically healed, but we be emotionally healed as well. I would like to share some of my journey of emotional healing. When I was 3, I was in a car accident where I went through the windshield, and I was told, the doctors told my mom that my sister and I were going to die. My mom said we would scream anytime a medical person in a white coat came near us. I did not see my dad for 6 weeks. This was before they had mittens to put on kids' hands to prevent them from scratching their stitches, so they would tie my hands to the bed rails at night. My mother said that when I came home from the hospital, my personality had totally changed. Whereas before I was talkative and outgoing, I became fearful, introverted, shy, and withdrawn. She said sometimes I would just go and sit in a chair facing the wall and just stare, and they didn't know what to do for me. Because my 3-year-old self could not understand what happened to me, parts of myself became broken. We call this your wounded soul. I developed high radar for protection for my environment and situations and all the people around me. I was suspicious of everyone. I didn't trust anyone but myself. I felt abandoned and rejected. And on top of it all, I blocked a lot of my memories. So all of us carry emotion. Some of it's on our face and some of it's inside. Go. So this person is showing emotion. Someone did his hair weird, and this is his reaction. Next one. This isn't working. This lovely lady looks happy, but inside you wouldn't realize all the trauma that's inside of her wounded soul. And this person, you can tell, is related to the first person, as you can see. And she does this sometimes when people are teasing her. And we don't know what emotion that is, but she doesn't like it. Next slide. This past January, I came across some videos by a man called Praying Medic. He had one video titled Emotional Healing Made Simple, and he wrote this book. I knew I needed emotional healing, and I thought, this sounds too easy. Emotional healing made simple. So I listened to him, and I liked what he had to say. He said, emotional healing has little to do with holding grudges or forgiveness. It's about healing the trauma inflicted on our souls by unexpected events, like a car accident, and the people with whom we interact, like doctors. The difficulties we endure create emotional wounds that leave us vulnerable to sickness and demonic harassment. Emotional trauma changes us in at least two distinct ways: the way in which we interact with each other and physically. Next slide. These basic steps he uses for healing simple emotional trauma. The first one, recall an event from the past that causes a strong negative emotion when you think about it. Number 2, identify the emotions you feel. 3, ask Jesus to take the emotion from you. 4, ask him to heal the wounds in your soul. And 5, tell him you receive his healing. I have continued to say yes to God in my life and go after emotional healing even when it's very difficult. I told God I wanted to try this process. He brought up a situation for me where my family was betrayed 3 times by people that we were living with, and 3 times we were kicked out of where we lived, and we had no warning. So I identified the first emotion. I said, okay, what's the first emotion I have? It's high anxiety. I asked God, take my anxiety away and heal my wounded soul, and that I received his healing. After you do this emotion, you're supposed to go back and see if that emotion is gone or another emotion comes up, because usually there's a number of emotions attached to that one trauma. And the emotions, I was surprised at how many emotions came up. I had to go through fear of the unknown, because I got kicked out, where am I going to live? I had to go through anger at the people. I was angry. And loss of control. I have no control over my situation. And sadness that my relationship was broken with those people. And actually, none of them wanted to talk about it, so we had no recourse. I prayed through each emotion, and at the end, when you feel like there's no more emotions coming up, say, okay, God, how do you feel about this? And after I prayed through all of those emotions and I didn't have them anymore, all I felt was this extreme compassion for the people involved, and that Jesus could heal their brokenness, because they were broken. It was very simple, and it worked, and it was like 10 minutes to half an hour, and it was done, and I was amazed. This can't be this simple. But it was, and I just felt this incredible peace. So a couple weeks ago, I was at a conference in Rochester with some people, and I felt disconnected from some people there. And during worship, this amazing worship, and this anger rose up in me. And I'm like, God, what's this about? Why am I feeling angry all of a sudden? And he said that I was angry at being left. The people I was disconnected from, they left me. So I asked him, when did that first happen to me? And he said, when you were 3 in the hospital. You didn't see your dad for 6 weeks, so you thought he left you. Your mom couldn't be there all the time. She was pregnant and needed a rest, needed to see my dad, so she was in and out. So she left me. And it opened like a trauma door in me. And I became super sensitive to people leaving me. And not just in the areas of physical leaving, but in the areas of I feel unseen by this person. Like I'm sharing my heart and they don't see me. That was feeling left. Sometimes I would be ignored or overlooked, or I would feel like a dump zone for people. They didn't really want to connect me. They just want to dump their stuff on me. And all those were related to feeling left. And so I would get triggered by those things. because it originated with the being left. Then he showed me how he showed me the flip side of being left is I would leave. So if I perceived that I was going to be in a vulnerable position or that I would be left, I would leave first. And so I would leave people. So when I went through this emotional healing, I had to ask him for the emotions because I had buried a lot of those emotions just to shut down so I wouldn't get hurt by people. Except for this anger showed up. So I prayed through the anger, and then I asked him to show me what other emotions were attached to that being left. And a major one was rejection at being left. Anger, I was angry at people for leaving me, or not seeing me, or overlooking me, or using me. A huge one was loneliness. And you don't realize how much people bury loneliness in them. But I had this incredible loneliness, and I never thought of myself as a lonely person because I like to be alone. But alone isn't the same as loneliness. And then a big surprise one I had to pray through was self-hatred. Because of being overlooked or ignored or rejected, I felt like something's wrong with me, and I just started hating myself. So self-hatred was a surprise one to me. So I prayed through all of those, and after I prayed through them all, I asked him to forgive me for leaving situations and people when I felt vulnerable. Then God showed me how this being left has affected my relationship with him. And sometimes I feel like he's far away. And sometimes I leave him because I feel like, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't need to be with you. I can do fine on my own, that independent thing. So he gave me Hebrews 13:5. It says, I will never leave you or forsake you. And he said, look up the word forsake. And the word forsake means to renounce, abandon, or turn away from something entirely. He said, I will never renounce, abandon, or turn away from you, ever. And some versions say, I will never, ever, ever, ever leave you or forsake you. Few people discuss how messy the healing process with the Lord can truly be. It involves the uncomfortable journey of allowing God to reveal the lies that influence your life patterns. Believing that I was left influenced my life pattern all through my life. Being betrayed and kicked out influenced my life patterns. I had to get emotional healing from them. It's about working alongside God as He uproots unhealthy habits that keep you confined. It's trusting that He is by your side as you mourn what He is asking you to release. While this journey isn't always easy, let's say hardly ever easy, it is always worthwhile. During morning prayer a few weeks ago, I shared about this emotional healing God was bringing me through. Someone felt that this wasn't just for me, but it's for some of you as well. God showed me where people have felt left. Some of you have been divorced. Maybe your parents favored one sibling over another. Maybe you feel people don't really know you. They just act plastic around you or want to control you or use you or just say, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. Or just use you as a venting post. Maybe a deep relationship was broken with a sibling or a friend. There are many ways we feel left. I believe that God wants to have me walk you through this today. How many of you feel like this being left thing has affected you in your life patterns? So what I want you to do is just ask God to show you the circumstance where this started in your life. What emotion do you feel when you think about this event? Ask Jesus to take this emotion, whatever it is, anger, whatever, rejection, from you. Jesus, take this emotion from me and heal my wounded soul. Then say, is there any other emotions that come up? And if you don't have time, if you have a lot of emotions coming up and you don't have time to do this now, you can do it later. But then tell him that you receive his healing. And then when you're all finished going through the emotions, when you think about that event, what do you feel now when you think about that event? It should be different. Some of us ladies have been doing this with various things in our lives. And I don't know, for me, it's really given me a lot of peace in my life. And I'm not ruled by the circumstances in the previous time that would have triggered me. God is so faithful to us. John 8:32 says, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." All emotional healing is for our freedom, that we can become more deeply connected to the Lord and the people around us that we're in relationship with. Galatians 5:1 says, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a voice of slavery." It's been really exciting to see the emotional healing in my life. I feel much more relaxed and at peace as a person. I feel like I have a way to get healing, and it's because before I would just be like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know why this is bothering me. And even just the other day, something came up and I was like, oh, I got to take this to God. Where's this coming from? But it's like when you feel these emotions come up in you or you get triggered by something, you can say, okay, God, what is this all about? And just start that process. So I hope this is helpful to you and you get out early today. And I just bless you and I encourage you to listen to Praying Medic or read his book if you like. It's been very, very helpful for me and some of the other women in our church. And I love you and pray for your healing as well. And if you want to talk more about it with me or I can help you walk through something, that'd be great. Love you very much. Thank you.